Power is never something you're given. It's something you construct brick by brick inside your own mind, behind your own lips, beneath your own skin. The weak believe that control is about manipulating others. The powerful know it begins with mastering themselves. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. His real secret wasn't politics, it was psychology. His true genius was in how he commanded three forces that determine whether you rule your world or get ruled by it. Your mind, your mouth, and your mood. Think about it. Every downfall, every humiliation, every regret you've ever had came from losing control of one of those three. You said something you shouldn't have. You thought something that sabotaged you, or you felt something that overpowered your reason. The mind, the mouth, and the mood. Machiavelli's unspoken Trinity offer. If you can govern these, you can walk into any situation and bend it quietly in your favor. Let's start with mind. It's not what you think. People assume mastering your mind means filling it with positive thoughts. But that's naive optimism, not mastery. The Machiavellian mind doesn't crave comfort. It seeks clarity. It studies patterns. It learns the rhythm of manipulation, not to become a victim of it. Most people are emotional reactors. They think in response to what the world throws at them. The powerful, on the other hand, think before the world even moves. Imagine a chess player who doesn't just react to his opponent's moves, but anticipates the next 5. That's how your mind must operate in social life. When someone praises you, your mind shouldn't melt. It should question the motive. When someone insults you, your mind shouldn't flinch. It should analyze the weakness in their words. The moment you become emotionally critical, you hand your power away. Machiavelli would say, the greatest fortress a man can build is his mind. Why? Because if you can't be manipulated interiorly, no one can touch you externally. But to achieve that, you have to learn to think like a strategist, not a sufferer. You can't just experience life. You must dissect it. Every conversation, every silence, every hesitation in another's voice tells you something. The average person ignores it. The powerful collect it like currency. But clarity requires distance. You can't study the chessboard while sitting inside the game emotionally. When you're angry, your vision shrinks. When you're anxious, your thoughts scatter. That's why the Machiavellian mind trains itself to detach. Not to feel less, but to see more. Detachment is not coldness. It's clarity. You observe yours thinking and recognize when emotions start steering the wheel. That's when you take it back. You pause. You breathe. You calculate. Power don't come from speed. It comes from precision. And here's the irony. The stronger your mind becomes, the quieter it gets. Because the truly powerful that waste mental energy on proving themselves. They conserve it for positioning themselves. They don't argue, they assess. They don't react, they respond. When you master your thoughts, your silence becomes more strategic than most people's speeches. Now, the mouth, your words are weapons or leaks. Every sentence you speak either builds your influence or drains it. Machiavelli didn't believe in endless honesty. He believed in useful truth. The mistake most people make is thinking that being real means saying everything they feel. But that's not real. It's reckless. The tongue is the fastest way to expose your inner world. That's why the wise learn to make their speech a mask, not a mirror. Every time you explain yourself, justify yourself, or defend yourself, you lose authority. Why? Because explanation is the language of the powerless. When you feel the need to clarify your every move, you reveal insecurity. Power lies in being unreadable. The more unpredictable your words, the more people project power onto you. They fill the silence with their own imagination. And imagination is often more flattering than truth. Learn to speak with precision, not excess. A short, cold sentence can have more impact than a long speech filled with emotion. When you answer with less, people want more. That curiosity is your leverage. When you talk too much, you trade mystery for momentary comfort. The mood can make you king or make you a fool in seconds. Machiavelli's advice here would be ruthless but effective. Say little, listen deeply, and when you speak, strike precisely. It's not just about what you say, but when you say it. Timing in speech is as powerful as timing in war. Sometimes silence is the loudest statement. Sometimes a smile is a weapon. Learn to use pauses like a blade. They slice through arrogance and force others to reveal themselves. And remember, your words are not meant to convince people. They are meant to control the frame. The person who defines the meaning of a situation controls it. If someone insults you and you act wounded, they own the frame. But if you smile, pause, and say, "That's interesting," you just flip the dynamic. Suddenly, they're the one who looks reactive. Your words should always make others adjust to your reality, never the other way around. But none of this works if your mood betrays you. Your mood is the invisible power others feel before you even speak. You could say the smartest thing in the world, but if your tone wavers, your facet witches, or your presence feels off, people won't believe you. Machiavelli knew this. The ruler's mood sets the tone for the entire court. If you're calm, people and control. If you're erratic, people sense weakness. The first step to mastering your mood is realizing it's contagious. Walk into a room tense, and everyone tenses. Walk in grounded, and even chaos begins to settle. Power has a frequency. It's not loud. It's stable. It's the kind of calm that makes others second-guess their anxiety. That's emotional dominance. And it begins by mastering your own chemistry. When you wake up angry, observe it. Don't act on it. When you feel anxious before a conversation, don't suppress it. Study it. Machiavelli would say, control begins where awareness begins. The mistake is strained to fake calmness. Real composure is built through confrontation, facing the chaos inside you until it no longer dictates your behavior. You don't destroy emotion, you discipline it. And that's the real art. Discipline over denial. Your mood shouldn't be reaction to circumstance. It should be an instrument you play at will. When you need to intimidate, you can radiate ice stillness. When you need to charm, you can exude warmth. You adapt without losing core control. That's emotional strategy. Something most people never even consider. Here's what few realize. These three, mind, mouth, and mood, are not separate. They feed each other constantly. A calm mood keeps your mind sharp. A sharp mind keeps your mouth measured. A measured mouth protects your mood. But lose one, and the other scallops like dominoes. The moment your mood explodes, your words betray you. The moment your words spill, your min loses authority. The power trinity is only complete when all three obey you. That's what Machiavelli meant when he said that a prince must appear both human and divine. Emotionally expressive enough to connect, but mentally superior enough to comment. It's not about becoming robotic. It's about learning to direct performance consciously instead of being enslaved by it. Most people train the body. They ignore the trinity that rules it. They go to the gym to build muscles, but never build mental stillness. They read books to sound intelligent, but never learn restraint in speech. They meditate for peace, but never test that peace under pressure. Power isn't in practicing these things separately. It's in unifying them so that your presence speaks before you do. There's a reason you can walk into a room and sense who's in charge without throwing a word. Their mind isn't racing, their mood isn't leaking, and their myth doesn't move unnecessarily. They conserve energy, and that conservation readies power. Control is magnetic. Because in a world addicted to reaction, stability feels like authority. That tragedy is that most people wait for power to be handed to them through status, money, or validation. But the Machiavellian path begins long before it. It starts when you sit quietly in absolute awareness of your inner world and choose not to be a slave to it. When your thoughts stop controlling you, when your emotions stop exposing you, when your words stop betraying you, that's when influence becomes effortless because you no longer need to prove it. Power, after all, is not about domination. It's about direction. And if you can direct your own mind, your own myth, and your own mood, there's no environment, no opponent, no manipulation that can pull you off balance. You become untouchable not because you fight the world, but because you've mastered the one battleground no one else dares to face: yourself. You see, people think power is external because they can see it in symbols: money, fame, followers, applause. But those are reflections, not sources. The true source is internal, invisible, and unshakable. When you master your inner trinity, your mind, mouth, and mood, you carry an authority that no one can revoke. It's why some people can walk into a room full of louder, richer, more successful individuals, and somehow, everyone still senses who's truly in control. It's not luck, it's inner architecture. Most people, however, live in emotional debt. They spend their energy chasing external validation because they've lost control of their inner balance. They think too much, speak too soon, and feel too deeply. Each of those might sound noble in isolation, but together they form a perfect storm of self-sabotage. Machiavelli's wisdom cuts straight through the delusion. He reminds us that power is not about what you can express. It's about what you can restrain. Let's go deeper into the first link, the mind. Because what most never realize is that your mind doesn't think. It responds. It's a machine built from habits, experiences, and emotional echoes. If you don't master it, someone else will. Society, media, friends, enemies. They all pour their beliefs into your head, and you mistake those voices for your own thoughts. The Machiavellian discipline begins with noticing when your thoughts aren't actually yours. Ask yourself, when you feel angry, whose voice is narrating that anger? Is it your pride, your ego, or someone else's opinion that planted the trigger years ago? Most people never pause long enough to find out. That's why they're easy to manipulate. All it takes is one insult, one rejection, one minor loss, and their entire mental stability collapses. But when you understand your mind's structure, you stop being programmable. You start writing your own code. This is where a third of inner conversation becomes sportful. Instead of letting your thoughts drag you, you start speaking to them. You interrogate them. You observe how your mind tries to protect your ego by creating stories. And you dismantle those stories with awareness. You become a ruler of your internal court. Every time you question your impulse before acting on it, you tighten your grip on power. Machiavelli would call this the discipline of perception, training your mind not to see what it wants to see, but what is. And that kind of clarity changes everything. When others are lost in emotion, you become the observer. When they seek revenge, you seek advantage. When they crave attention, you cultivate silence. It's in that space where your mind becomes the calm eye of the storm that real control emerges. The world becomes slower around you. Reactions become predictable. People become transparent because clarity reveals patterns and patterns give power. Now the second force, the mood, is where most people destroy everything their mind builds. It's astonishing how many lose years off respect in seconds of uncontrolled speak. The tongue reveals more than the heart ever does. You can be intelligent, strategic, insightful, but if your mouth moves faster than your judgment, all your insight dies at the altar of impulse. Machiavelli understood this not just in politics, but in human psychology. He'd say, power speaks only when it must. The reason every word you say writes a page in someone else's perception of you. The fewer pages you use of them, the harder it is for them to define you. And when people can't define you, they fear misjudging you. That fear gives you leverage. Let me give you a small example. Imagine two leaders in a meeting. One explains every decision in detail, trying to prove his logic. The other speaks briefly, confidently, and then watches in silence. Who do you think the room respects more? The second don't. Not necessarily because he's smarter, but because he signals certainty. His economy of words creates mystery, and mystery creates value. Humans chase what they can't fully read. That's why learning when not to speak is a power skill most ignore. You don't need to win conversations. You need to in frames. Let others argue, defend, and shout. You stay composed. The one who stays quiet longest often controls emotional tempo. Silence forces people to reveal themselves, to explain, to guess what you're thinking, to expose their nerves. Meanwhile, your calmness multiplies your presence tenfold. There's also another layer here, tone. Your tone is what people actually hear far more than your words. A slow, measured voice can dominate a fast, emotional one. Even a simple I see can hit harder than an entire explanation if delivered with composure. Machiavelli would likely tell you to make your tone an instrument. Play it differently for different effects. Slight warmth to disarm, sharpness to assert control, soft indifference to make others chase your approval. It's theater, but with purpose. And yet all of that collapses if your mood betrays you. Because mood is the excellent interpreter of everything you do. You can think strategically and speak elegantly, but if your emotional state is unstable, people will sense it immediately. Mood leaks through micro-expressions, posture, rhythm. It's the invisible current underneath your presence. You can't fake it for long. You have to regulate it. Regulation doesn't mean suppression. It means transforming. Machiavelli's form of emotional control wasn't about denial. It was about conversion. Turn your anger into assertiveness. Turn your fear into focus. Turn your sadness into calculation. Power isn't the absence of emotion. It is the command of it. When your mood follows your intention instead of your circumstances, you reach the level where most manipulation fails. But how do you reach that point? By exposure. You can't master calmness in comfort. You master it by putting yourself in tension, conflict, discomfort, and training yourself not to flinch. The goal isn't to feel nothing. The goal is to feel everything and still choose your response. When you can stand in Kazan, your inner rhythm doesn't change. You've reached Machiavellian serenity. That's what makes you appear powerful even when you say or do very little. Your energy doesn't bend to the environment. There's a strange paradox here. The more emotionally stable you become, the more others around you become unstable because stability provokes insecurity in the reactive. When you refuse to play emotional games, manipulators lose their script. Their cow stops working, and that's when they either respect you or fear you. Both reactions serve you equally. That's why your mood must never depend on people's treatment of you. Let others be the weather. You be the climate. They can fluctuate, rage, gossip, apologize, or disappear. You remain consistent. Consistency confuses manipulators and comforts allies. It's how empires, both internal and external, are built. When you align all three, the mind clear, the mood controlled, the mood composed, you create a presence that feels inevitable. People may not even know why they trust or fear you, but they will because you've mastered what they haven't. You've done the work no one sees. You fought the invisible war that everyone else keeps losing, and that quiet strength radiates louder than any display of dominance ever could. Remember, Machiavelli never worshipped brute force. He respected restraint, the ability to appear composed under fire, to choose words that hit like silent daggers, to think 5 moves ahead while looking unbothered. That's the essence of modern power. You don't need to roar when you've already structured your silence to echo. And here's the final truth. If you can't command yourself, someone else always will. The mind will serve your fears. The mouth will survey your emotions. The mood will serve your surroundings. But when all three survey you, the world does too. Because people subconsciously follow those who let themselves. There comes a moment in everyone's life where they realize power isn't about winning over others. It's about not losing yourself to them. That world is full of intelligent people hostile crumble under the weight of their own reactions. They think, they talk, they feel. But without mastery, all three become weapons turned inward. Machiavelli understood that human minds destroy their own authority not because they lack opportunity but because they lack control over their Trinity. Mastering the mind doesn't mean astralizing your thoughts. It means directing them. The Machiavellian mind doesn't waste energy on what it can't influence. It doesn't obsess over insults or dwell on rejection. It observes them, dissects them, and moves forward with data. Every emotion becomes a message, not a master. Most people think too much about the past and too little about strategy. The powerful think precisely about the present because that's where leverage lives, every day. The world tests your mental sovereignty. Someone will provoke you, try to corner you, make you explain yourself. But your power lies in choosing not to participate in every battle that tempts you. Machiavelli would say, the strongest minds win wars before they start. They use understanding as armor. They know which situations to ignore, which people to wait, and which impulses to starve. Because when your mind becomes calm and out to calculate, chaos becomes your advantage. You can't outspeak or outemote a chaotic person. You outlast them. You watch their own instability eat away at their credibility while you remain consistent. That's psychological power at its finest. The ability to oust your opponent without lifting a finger. And to do that, you need the discipline to think long-term in a short-term world. A mind that always plays for the next 5 moves instead of the next 5 minutes. Now your mouth, your second instrument, serves as the bridge between thought and perception. What you say reveals the alignment view when your inner clarity and outer compasser. When your words come from emotion, people hear volatility. When they come from patience, people hear command. Words are carriers of your internal energy. That's why the powerful rarely repeat themselves. They speak once and it lingers. They don't argue, they assert. They don't explain, they define. Machiavelli's brilliance wasn't in trickery, but in timing. He knew when silence could achieve more than speech. He understood that control over words is control over the battlefield of perception. Because people don't act on facts, they act on impressions. And impressions are molded by language. Theon, who names the emotion in the room, controls the narrative. That's why the first to speak often loses power. Theon, who speaks last, defines reality. There's an art in leaving your sentence unfinished, in letting people fill in blanks. Mystery isn't manipulation, it's magnetism. It invites curiosity, and curiosity creates influence. The moment people think they fully understand you, their respect drops, they stop trying to decode you. But when you reveal only fragments, they lean in, they wonder. And that wondering turns into quiet reverence. You become someone who means more than you say. That doesn't mean you never express emotion, it means you express it strategically. Warmth, humor, seriousness, they're all tools, not identities. When you choose your words consciously, you direct how others feel around you. That's power. Most people never touch because they use their mouth to vent, not to lead. You can either speak to be understood or speak to be remembered. Machiavellian of power demands the second. And then comes the mood, the hardest to master because it's the least tangible. Mood is the vibration beneath your presence. You can't fake it for long because it's felt before it's seen. If your mind is the general and your mouth soldier, your mood is the atmosphere of the entire kingdom. It dictates whether your thoughts and words carry weight or fall flat. A sharp mind and calm voice are useless if your energy feels chaotic or uncertain. To control mood, you must first understand that emotion is not the enemy. It's the indicator. It tells you where you've lost focus. The difference between a powerful person and a powerless one is in emotional suppression. It's emotional awareness. The powerless drown in their feelings. The powerful surf them. They let emotion inform them, not consume them. When anger rises, they don't explode. They channel it into clarity. When fear whispers, they don't retreat. They listen and prepare. Machiavelli knew that composure is a form of intimidation. When you remain calm while others unravel, you become the gravitational center. People orbit around your steadiness because stability is rare. Everyone wants to feel safe, and emotional consistency creates that safety even in enemies. That's why the person who remains unbothered always has the upper hand. You can't manipulate someone who isn't emotionally reactive. Mood mastery begins with observation. Notice what triggers you. What people, what environments, what words shift your emotional temperature. Then trace their out. Because until you understand why, you'll always be someone else's puppet. The more you can see your own mood patterns, the more you can shift them before they control your behavior. Power don't mean not feeling. It means not leaking. And once you stop leaking, something remarkable happens. Your energy becomes dense. People start to sense something in you they can't quite define. An aura of control, confidence, and calm that isn't loud, but undeniable. That's the byproduct of inner containment. When you no longer waste your mood on reaction, you project quiet authority. You don't demand attention, you draw it. The difference between those who command rooms and those who fill them is energetic discipline. Combine these three, mind, mouth, and mood, and you create a self-reinforcing system of power. Your mind dictates your direction. Your mouth executes it. Your mood sustains it. When all three align, you become both unpredictable and unshakable. People sense that they can't read you fully, and that uncertainty gives you control. They can place you in a box because you don't belong to one anymore. You've transcended the basic reflexes of ordinary behavior. That's when influence stops being something you do and becomes something you are. You no longer chase outcomes. You create environments that produce them. You no longer persuade. You embody the outcome others want to follow. Machiavelli's true wisdom wasn't about deceit. It was about construction. The construction of a self so coherent, so disciplined that the world naturally bends to its rhythm. This is the essence of the power trinity. The mind is your strategist, the mouth is your weapon, and the mood is your silent dominion. Each mastered separately become a strength. Mastered together, they become inevitability. Because when your thoughts are precise, your words deliberate, and your energy impenetrable, what's left for anyone to control? Nothing. And that's when you finally realize the highest form of power is not control over others. It is absolute command of